Hello again. Okay, we have Fudge and Mania by Judy Blume, and we are on chapter 8, Fudge a Mania. Okay, here we go. How come you're in such a bad mood? Sheila asked me the next morning. It must be the weather, I grumbled. Actually, it had nothing to do with the weather, which was gray and damp as usual. It had to do with my brilliant idea from last night. Somehow, when I woke up this morning, my poison gas story sounded really weird. I wasn't sure Jimmy would buy it, and where would that leave me? After breakfast, I went back to bed. Dad says falling asleep when your body's not tired is a way of avoiding your problems. Okay, so what is his big problem? Well, Peter's problem is he hasn't told his friend Jimmy Fargo that they're actually living in the same house for a few weeks with Sheila Tubman, who's in their 6th grade class, and he's afraid of what Jimmy will think or that Jimmy will go home. I'm not sure why he's so upset about it, but he's worried about Jimmy's opinion. Okay, here we go. And Jimmy's going to come back, visit, so that's why he's worried. Maybe he's right, because when I woke up an hour later, I still didn't know what to do about Jimmy. I looked out the window. The sun was making an effort to break through the clouds. Maybe I shouldn't worry yet, I thought. A lot can happen in a week. The Tubmans might decide they've had enough of Maine. They might be gone by the time Jimmy gets here. I got out my baseball cards and went down to the porch. I was laying them out alphabetically by player's last name when Mitzi showed up. I still couldn't believe Mitzi's grandfather was Big Alfel. I wonder why Mrs. A didn't tell us about him. Unless she's sick of people falling all over themselves when they find out who he is. I suppose I'd feel the same way if Dad were famous. Mitzi looked at my baseball cards. That used to be my grandpa, she said when she spotted Big Al. What do you mean, used to? I asked. He's still your grandpa, isn't he? Yes, but he's different now. He has more fat. He was probably a lot younger when they took this picture, I said, holding up his card. She nodded. Where's Fudge? He's planting a garden with his babysitter. Where's the garden? Behind the house. Will you take me? I started to tell her to go by herself. After all, she's walked all the way to our house on her own, but she looked at me with those big eyes. Sometimes monsters live behind houses, she said, and I didn't bring my monster spray. Monster spray, I asked. Grandma makes it for me. It's a secret formula. When you spray the monsters, they melt. Sounds like an interesting product. Dad would have had a field day with it, I thought. He's in advertising. Commercials are his business. I can see it now. Mitzi's monster spray, made from her grandmother's secret formula. Spray twice a day and melt your monsters away. Mitzi held out her hand. Will you walk me around the house? How could I refuse? I walked her to the backyard where Sheila and Fudge were hard at work. They'd already dug out a plot of land. Now they were lining up rows of pink rocks for the beach. You're planting rocks? I asked. Yes, said Fudge. Rocks don't need sun or water. They don't get slugs. Animals can eat them, and they never die. I looked at Sheila. It was his idea, she said. It was my idea, Fudge repeated. I like this garden, Mitzi said. She got down on her hands and knees to help. Mom and Dad are going to be surprised when they see your garden, I told Fudge. I know, he said. They're going to be surprised that you dug up this much grass to plant rocks, especially since this backyard doesn't belong to us. Who does it belong to? Fudge asked. The people who own this house, I told him. So, he said, the people who own this house will be happy when they see my garden. Maybe, I told him, or maybe they'll say, who dug up our backyard? Really, Peter, Sheila said, you're such a worrier. Yeah, Pete, Fudge said, you worry too much. don't worry, I told them. I think ahead. When the rocks were all planted, 6 rows of them, with 10 in each row, Mitzi scooped up a handful of dirt. Now let's make mud pies. Mud pie, Fudge said. That's what they have for dessert at Tico Taco, right, Pete? But it's not made of mud, I told him. Then why do they call it mud pie, he asked. Because it looks like mud, I explained. Yum! Mud pie, Mitzi said, licking the dirt off her fingers. Spit that out right now, Sheila told her. That's full of bacteria. Yum, bacteria, Mitzi said. I love bacteria. Don't you, Fudgy? Bacteria's my favorite, Fudge said. Then he looked up at me. What's bacteria, Pete? They're little germs, I told him. Yum! Germs, Mitzi said. Germs are really tasty. Cooties are tasty too, Fudge said. And slugs. Slugs are fat and juicy. You two are disgusting, Sheila said. Germy, germy germs and shaggy, shaggy slugs, Mitzi sang. Yummy, yummy, down in my tummy. Fudge held his arms straight out to the sides and began to twirl. Mitzi copied him. They twirled around and around, faster and faster, until they got so dizzy they fell on the ground, screaming and laughing. Then they started all over again. Stop that! Sheila shouted. We can't, Fudge yelled, twirling and whirling. It's Fudge-mania! Mitzi shrieked. Once you get it, you can never stop. I'm going to count to 3, Sheila said. But Sheila's threat didn't bother them. You better watch out, Fudge sang, because it's a catching. He twirled over to me and swatted my behind. Now you got it, Pete. You've got Fudge-mania too. I started twirling, slowly at first, then faster and faster until everything was a blur. I twirled over to Sheila and smacked her on the back. Look out, Sheila! You caught it from me. I did not catch anything from you, Sheila shouted. I will never catch anything from you. The door of the house slammed and out marched Libby. She was wearing her Snoopy t-shirt. It's so big it hangs down to her knees. She stamped across the yard. Just what exactly is going on here? She asked. She didn't wait for an answer. And how am I supposed to sleep with this racket? Sleep, Mitzi said. Now? Yes, now, Libby said. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning. You sleep until 10 o'clock in the morning, Mitzi said, like she couldn't believe it. Libby put her hands on her hips and glared. I try. But morning is the best time of day to play, Mitzi said. Who is this kid? Lizzie asked Sheila. Mitzi Apple, Sheila said, a neighbor. I'm 5, Mitzi told her, and I walked here all by myself. I didn't need anyone to show me the way. I tell you what you need, Libby began, but Mitzi didn't want to hear what Libby had to say. She raced off shouting, It's Fudge-mania! Fudge followed Mitzi. Sheila chased them both. You're all maniacs, Libby shouted. Fudge-maniacs, I added. Either Libby didn't get my joke or she decided to ignore it because she said, This is all your fault, Peter. Chaos follows you and your family. Chaos, I said. I don't believe I know him. That got Libby really mad. Chaos, she yelled. A state of utter confusion and disorder. Then she stomped back to the house and went inside, letting the screen door slam behind her. I couldn't help laughing. When Mom and Dad saw Fudge's garden, I expected them to really let him have it. They've always taught us to respect other people's property. But when Fudge explained his reason for planting rocks, Mom said, That's very good thinking. A good babysitter encourages creativity, Sheila said. But doesn't this show a lack of respect for other people's property, I asked. Well, Mom said, it would have been better if Fudge had checked with us before he started, but his idea was so well thought out. Rocks don't need sun or water, and animals can't eat them. Yeah, I said. I've heard all of it. Grandma wandered across the yard with Buzzy Sr. She took one look at Fudge's garden and said, Isn't my grandson original, Buzzy? Actually, it was mostly my idea, Sheila said. That's not what you said this morning, I shouted at Sheila. This morning you said it was his idea. Just shut your face for once, Peter Hatcher, she shouted back. Who's gonna make me? I yelled. Children, Grandma said, let's be kind. Kind is a word your grandson doesn't know, Muriel, Sheila shouted. He knows it, Grandma said, but sometimes he forgets what it means. And she does, I said. Sometimes she forgets too, Grandma admitted. I don't see why you two can't get along as well as your dogs, Buzzy Sr. said. I looked toward the house. Turtle and Jake were playing together. You'd think Turtle would have shown more loyalty. You'd think he'd understand about Sheila and me. Tootsie grabbed my leg. Up, P, up. Not now, I said. Now. But I wasn't in the mood for baby tricks, so I shook her off and she fell over on her backside. It took a few seconds for her to react. Then she scrunched up her face, her mouth started twitching, and her breath came fast. She made her little hands into fists, shut her eyes tight, and opened her mouth. Wah! Once she got going, you could hear her a mile away. What happened, Tootsie Pie? Dad said as he lifted her into her arms. Tootsie kept screaming and Mom looked at me. Was that necessary, Peter? Was what necessary? I said. Mom shook her head. You see how much trouble you cause for everyone? Sheila shouted at me. How come I'm getting blamed for this? I thought. All I did was ask one simple question. Fudge held up his arms out to Mom. Up, he said. Up, up, up. You want to play, baby? Mom asked. Goo, goo, gas, gas, Fudge said, jumping up into Mom's arms. You're getting heavy, Mom said, planting a kiss on his head. But not too heavy for my mommy, right? I shook my head, then turned away and watched Dad galloping across the yard with Tootsie on his shoulders. In the meantime, Tootsie was laughing. I remember when Dad carried Fudge that way, and there's a photo of me on his shoulders too. I'm laughing really hard and grabbing Dad's hair. He had a lot more to grab then. Go, horsey, Tootsie called as Dad galloped to the other direction. Being a baby is so easy, I thought, riding around on Dad's shoulders, knowing he'd never let you fall, and doing and saying whatever you please, without worrying about what the other guy was thinking. Grandma put her arm around my shoulders. It's not easy being the firstborn, is it? I looked at her and smiled. She knew exactly what I was feeling. Grandmas are awesome, aren't they? That's the end of the chapter. That was a good one, right? Okay, chapter 9 is Dizzy from Izzy. Dizzy from Izzy. I'll read the first sentence. I hung out on the beach almost all day on Friday, hoping to catch a glimpse of Big Apple. Well, we'll see if Peter does. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.